These last two opponents you faced have obviously been a little bit more, I guess, difficult in terms of physical challenges. What are some of the things you've learned about your guys?
Well, I've learned that, and we've talked repeatedly about this. I've learned that they do what we ask them to do. When we challenge them in an area of emphasis, they always respond with giving it to us. That doesn't mean we're perfect, but they just continue to play hard and play their guts out. And if we can continue to clean up, the mistakes that are self-inflicted. You guys have heard us. I mean, it's nothing profound, but offensive football or football in general, it's hard enough, as it is going against a good opponent. But when you're having to fight yourself too from mistakes that you cause, it just complicates the matter. And so our challenge this week to them is to, we want to match the discipline that Army plays with. They play with a great deal of discipline, and we need to match that. But our guys just keep giving great effort and keep striding and making strides in the right direction.
What can you say about the play of Lowell to be able to come off the bench like that 2 weeks in a row? What does that say about him?
Well, it says a lot. It says a lot about who he is. He's a unique individual. Now we've got a lot of guys in our quarterback room that've got great character and depth, and they're all unique and all individually different. But Lowell, Lowell's been through some stuff in his life. Some stuff that he's been through some hardships, as a lot of guys in college football and in life have. But in particular, he's been through a transfer and he loss of a parent, and some ups and downs as a quarterback. He's seasoned, and I think you see that in him and his character development. He's resilient and he's consistent, and I wasn't surprised at all that he's come in and done such a good job, because he's very steady each day. He's the same each day. And, it was really impressive to watch him come off and the bench and the sideline and play the way he stepped in there. And he was aggressive. He had controlled aggression and how he pressed the ball down the field. And we need him to play the same way Saturday, and just more of the same.
I know Jeff doesn't like to kind of tell us what the plan is as far as preparation and who's going to play at quarterback, but how has Frank looked, and what can you say about what he's been able to do this week?
Well, Frank's, I think, continually getting healthier and healthier, and has a good week of practice for sure. And both of those guys have gotten a significant amount of reps this week, and I think just every day, I think everybody in our offense continues to get more and more comfortable each week with what we're doing, how we're doing it. The expectation, the calls, the route structures, the reads, it just, and that's a sign of progression. And we need to take another step forward across all positions, and including at the quarterback position, regardless of who's playing in the game. We said before the year started, guys, that, it's going to be a strange year. And all four guys that, battled for the job, we told them that, we're probably going to use all of you at some point in fashion. And that's come to fruition. And it's the same each week, man. Be ready, prepare like you're going to play. And we expect Saturday to probably be a similar experience.
Greg, you're up.
Barry, when you guys are looking to make the decision of who you're going to play at quarterback, how much do you balance the value of game film and what they do in games versus their performance in a practice setting?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that there's significant input from both of those factors. How a guy prepares and practices, and very rarely do you see in a game what you haven't seen in practice. There's usually markers there during the week to let you have some indication on how your guys are going to play and how a young man's going to play on Saturday. And so it's a little bit of both, and obviously the game and the game settings are very different and unique from practices, and you can only tell so much from practice. And so that game has a significant amount of weight to it too, about how a guy responds in live situation. And so we use both of those as a judgment. And, one of the things that we want to do here, and we're trying to be committed to, is that, we want whoever that guy is to play without looking over his shoulder. And that, if you're going to the game as a starter, you're the guy, and we're going to let you play. And but if it's not going well for whoever's fault, whatever reason it might be, then, we've got 3 guys that now we're down, now they're down to 2 other guys that, have played and started football games before. And so we're also not going to be stubborn about it. And so we use all those contributing factors to make those decisions.
JJ asked you about the physicality of your recent opponents. What kind of a physical and mental toll overall have you seen this season take on the guys? Jeff mentioned that to us over the weekend.
Yeah, it's starting to show up a little bit, and I think we were really smart with them this week. We still practice physical, but we did some things to hopefully try to get them, refresh a little bit. Listen, this is COVID, no COVID, spring ball, no spring ball. This is the time of year during football seasons typically where you become a little bit more mentally and physically tired, and so it's our job to manage that, and it's their job to take care of themselves. Hydration, nutrition, rest, recovery, all that stuff matters. Because we've got some very significant, important football games on the slate down the stretch that, if we're healthy and we're in the right frame of mind, that we feel like that we can be competitive in and to the very end of those things and have a chance to win those games. And ultimately the team that's fresher and more ready to play, those go a long way this time of year. And so we're kind of in that midseason lull a little bit. This is kind of this will be game 6 in a row. And, it's just, that's the nature of the beast. And that's why you have depth. That's why you have guys that practice. That's why you recruit guys to be able to help that when need be.
What are some of those ways that you can lighten the load physically and try to keep them fresh? How do you alter it from a week, like a month ago might have looked like?
Yeah, sure. Well, the weather helps, as it starts getting cooler, that helps. And, that's not, obviously none of us can control that weather. I'm not insinuating that. But so the weather this time of year helps a little bit cooler. You trim back a period here. Maybe the way you design your individual periods, you may not run them as much. There's just some little things you can do to lighten the load, both mentally and physically, that I think we've done that hasn't drastically changed our approach at all to what we're doing and the physical nature that we want to play with. And so I think Coach has done a good job of, balancing that for us.
How about the mental side of that conversation? Jeff is saying that just, they play these many close games in a row and that it kind of mentally wears on them too. How do you sort of adjust for that or try to make sure they're in a good place?
Yeah, that's part of it. That's a big part of mental and in the mental and physical toughness part is, I think that's for coaches too. When you play that many games, in a row where it's going down to the fourth quarter, and we expect all of our games to be like that, truthfully, and would expect nothing less for them to come down to the fourth quarter. And so, you just got to have great resolve, and you just got to get back up and treat it and take it one day, literally 1 day, 1 hour, one period, one play at a time. That's the challenge. And you can't look at the big picture on Tuesday and think, man, we've got a whole nother week of practice. You just got to deal with the play that's ahead. And we have to set that pace as coaches because we're human too. And that's part of our deal too, to think, man, it's Tuesday, it's going to be a long day. You got to get up and go and bring the energy. And that's why we got in coaching, to help lead young men and give them guidance. And I think we've done a good job of setting that pace this week.
Jeff talked to us this week about your guys' efforts to make football fun and make sure that they remember that part of it. How do you try to do that with your group or when you're working with the kids?
Well, I think you just got to be yourself, and you got to be human. The players got to see that you're a human, and I mean that. Obviously not in the literal sense. They know I'm a human, and they know we are. But it's okay to, like you did right there. It's okay to crack a smile and make a lighthearted joke with them, and not always pressing them and demanding them. There's a balance there, and and Jeff does some fun things in the meetings. He's got a good sense of humor, but he's got a really good balance of knowing when that it's not like any of us are trying to run around and do a stand-up comedy show. We're about winning and developing young men, and that's what we're about. But the relationship part of it, when you're real and authentic, you can be yourself, and kids still respond to coaching them hard. And so, hey, we got a staff full of guys that are like that. We'll coach them hard. You come to practice and listen. Man, you hear some coaches running around and coaching them really hard, and it's never personal. It's not demeaning. We're just coaching them hard. And then, we put our arm around them and ask them about their girlfriend and ask them about the movie they've been watching, or, if they picked the wrong bachelor, or, and tell them about your family. I know I like to tell guys about my family. My boys, Luke and Levi, they're 12 and 10. I like to tell them Luke and Levi Lunney stories, to help them take a break mentally when they start the meeting off. And so we get a kick out of that. So there's just a bunch of different ways to do it.
Is there any like specific joke or anything, whether it was you or Jeff or one of the position coaches, that really got the guys this week that you saw really brought that smile?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of I know there's nothing specific that comes to mind.
Okay, JJ.
Barry, we saw you move to the sidelines this past week. Why make that change this week?
JJ, I've done both over my career as a play caller. And there's advantages to each of those, vantage points. And I wanted to start the year off, up there because I felt like that was best for me and our team, for me to kind of get a feel of, what was going on. And just, through the first few weeks, I've just felt very disconnected from the quarterbacks and from the team, to be honest with you. And I'm the leader of the offense. And I just kind of made a decision and Jeff, was great to let me do whatever I wanted to do from the beginning. I just made a decision in my heart that I wanted to be down there with the fellas, to be honest with you. I wanted to be down there with the offense. I wanted to go to battle with them. And not that I wasn't doing it up there, but, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind a little bit. I'm just a voice signaling plays, or calling plays. And I wanted to be there with them. And not that I brought anything extraordinary to the table being on the sidelines, but I know I was more in my element and I was more comfortable, being down there and being with them and celebrating with them and encouraging them when it didn't go right. And so that's going to be something I'm going to continue to do moving forward.
How would you, we saw Mekhi Hart get the start at tackle. How would you assess his play and just the overall play of the offensive line?
We had some moments where we played really physically hard. We played really physically hard, and we were physical at times. We were so close on a few runs, a few more of those runs, just so close with the technique here, or just kind of a misstep here of having Sincere in the secondary a couple more times, and getting him to that 80 or 100-yard mark, instead of, I think he hovered around 40 or so. I can't remember, but there's a fine line. When you play good defenses, those holes close up really fast. You get edge really fast. But I thought Mekhi, he keeps getting better, and that's so cliche. I get it, but he literally keeps getting better every day, and he's going to get more and more comfortable each week. Was impressed with the way he competed, and I tell you, our guys didn't back down. We had a great challenge last week physically from BYU's defense, and let me tell you, we've got another big time challenge this week with Army's defense. Very physical. They play all the way through the whistle. They just have a unique ability to kind of get on your edge and get off blocks, and we've got to play with great strain and keep them covered up for us to be successful.
Hey, Greg.
Barry, what was Mekhi's recruitment like?
Matt Maddox and Coach Traylor and they just did a really good job with him. But it was really neat to get to know him and his family, and his recruitment was pretty straightforward. He seemed to connect with Coach Maddox pretty early on, and definitely Coach Traylor. And he's got a unique story. I believe he's from Iowa. I'm pretty sure that's right. And then ended up down here for junior college, and liked it and wanted to stay around in the area and help support his family. And we just kind of gravitated towards each other. It was just kind of one of those connections, I think, that was very mutual. We loved his ability, and we laid out a good plan for him to help, about what we were going to try to do with him as far as helping him get ready to play at this level. And we knew it was going to be a quick transition for him to play physically. And he just did a really good job of taking care of his business and getting out of school on time in the midst of all this junk that was going on in the spring. Academically, as far as the COVID, the way it impacted all schools, turning to online, he took care of his business, and he's been, he is exactly who we thought he was. He loves football, he loves to compete, and he keeps getting better every day. And we're glad to have him, I promise you.
He said he's really only been playing offensive line for a couple of years. He had started as a defensive lineman. Do you see signs of that, or areas where maybe he's still improving?
Yeah, he's definitely improving, but you don't see that. You see a guy that's taken to it pretty naturally. But now what you said there is a great precursor to why. He played D-line for a reason. Why? Because he's agile, and he's got, bent, he's got flexibility, he's got power, and those qualities translate pretty well for an offensive lineman too. And so those things show up for him. He's really a natural player. And there's just certain guys like that. You just got guys that you recruit and coach that just get it, and he gets it. And then there's other guys that they eventually get it, but sometimes it takes them a little bit longer to get it. But his transition has been really quick because he's a really natural football player. He learns very well. He's very attentive in meetings, very serious, very driven, impressive player.
And then last thing for me, Jeff told us yesterday that you guys had one positive COVID case come back within your team this week. I'm wondering, he said you guys are still working through contact tracing. Do you expect that that's going to impact your group at all, or do you feel like at this point you're good to go full speed ahead for Saturday?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have a significant impact right now. Obviously anything further than that, I'm going to let Jeff handle that. But right now, no, I don't. I think we're on things. Our guys have done a good job. Our guys have done a really good job of protecting themselves, and we got to continue to do that. And but we're going to be ready to roll Saturday.